I've been to Dothan a few times actually. Most with WCW back in the 80s. We came here a few times to produce television. And so yeah, and the thing that that always stuck with me on Dothan was the barbecue. Because we always got good barbecue in Dothan. Not that nobody's going to be surprised to hear that, but it was always good to get out. Well, I was living in Atlanta at that time. So getting away from the Atlanta barbecue and then getting into the Dothan barbecue, you enjoy the difference in the culture. So I always enjoyed the and it was a nice little drive. You know, we flew so many miles back in those days, and still do, but being able to drive in your car from Atlanta to Dothan was a nice little break in the action. Well, Dothan was a part of a territory that was very viable at one time, Continental Wrestling. And you know, a lot of the top stars in wrestling passed through Dothan and this area, you know, back in the day. So I don't remember a specific story, but I know that the fans in this area may not have known it then. I'm sure they understand it now if they kept track of any of the history. And that is the fact that some of the biggest stars in the game lived in the area from time to time and lived in the Alabama territory. And they were able to, I don't know how often they ran Dothan, but I feel like most cities, they ran it every week. Yeah. And so that for some towns, that was their minor league baseball team. For some towns, that was their sports franchise. And Dothan was not unlike my city in Tulsa. In Oklahoma, it had the same feel. It was a key city in the territory. So, but it was a good one, and they did good business. It was kind of the Wild West. It was wild and crazy. You know, the promoters and the bookers and so forth, the administration in Dothan in the Continental area were very aggressive in their creativity, and so it was kind of I don't want to say blood and guts. That's probably too simplistic, but it was very TV 14 adult-oriented product because they reenacted a lot of violence. But if that's what sold a ticket, then you know your market. Well, I'm the senior advisor in All Elite Wrestling. They asked me when I signed on, asked my agent what title I wanted, and he asked me, and I said, I don't want any title. So you got to have a title for something about benefits in the state of Florida, because we're in Jacksonville, they're called the Jaguars. We utilize a lot of their infrastructure. So I've always been a believer that wrestling fans are more discerning now than they have ever been because of the internet. Maybe we all are in our given vocations or advocations, whatever it may be, either or, because of the internet. So information is so accessible. So I wasn't totally shocked about how well we did, but I know that it's 1 week. You know, and I'm probably not the guy to be around when you're talking about a big picture item and you're basing that big picture item and the results long term on one show. It's illogical. So bottom line is we got to play hard, and we got to deliver every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Alabama time.
What was the feeling like? Just I guess the behind the scenes crew, you know, at the end of the night after Dynamite's debut Wednesday.
Well, everybody was happy. It seemed like everybody was happy. I think maybe more of a feeling of relief. We got through it because nobody at that time knew what the ratings were going to be. We knew that going into it we had a sellout, and we'd sold that building out in advance in like 30 minutes, you know, weeks and weeks ago. So we were lucky there. Anytime you have an audience that's involved in that quick a sellout, you can almost count on them to be raucous, rambunctious, you know, and they've been waiting. They're carrying this ticket like it's burning a hole in their hand or something, right? So I think that we knew what we had on our hands, that we had to go deliver. Once we get through delivering our product, I think everybody felt pretty good about what we delivered. A pretty good show, solid show, and the audience certainly played their role. If we have everybody, if every crowd that we've played before on Wednesday nights on TNT is comparable to Washington, D.C., this is going to be such a fun show to watch every week. It really is. Because you get that, there's going to be a little trend starting to be set. I'm thinking these guys are going to start bringing more signs. They're going to make more noise, have more noise makers. I see this whole thing becoming like a cult deal because our audience, and we got great ratings, is young. They like that kind of thing. So I encourage them to, the louder, the rowdier, the better. You got one that's got people working it you don't even know because it's so big. You know, when I first went to work for Vince McMahon in '93, you know, it wasn't hard to get to know everybody on the road because there weren't that many of us. Yeah. And so that changed over the years to where they got, you know, 12, 13, they roll with 12 or 13 semis, 18 wheelers. It's massive, maybe more than that, heck, I don't know. Yeah. So they're a lot bigger. With that bigness and the largesse becomes aloofness, or at least a feeling of aloofness. Not that it's there or it isn't. Depends on who you are, I guess. But just less political, maybe. Anything I say is going to be, somebody's going to take out of context and say JR is knocking WWE. I'm not knocking WWE. I mean, I was there 26 years. I think I had a contributing hand in helping build some of the foundation of what that company is currently running on. And that was called the Attitude Era. And the rosters that we put together during that period of time, well, I don't think will ever be duplicated. So my contributions as on a personal level, I'm proud of. So now's not the time for me at 67 years of age to start knocking somebody that made me a great living and help provide for my family. That's just silly. It's been so ungrateful. That's not me, man. Yeah. So I don't have any ill will toward them. See, I've been in this position. I've been around these guys, wrestlers, for years, since the 70s. This is a week-to-week proposition. Just when you can celebrate for a few minutes, like in our case, the ratings come in on Thursday. So somebody's going to see them on Thursday afternoon late, but then the next day, the weekend's here. Well, when the weekend's over, that's our cue to get back on the road. We have people leaving their homes on Monday morning for the Wednesday shoot because they're on the crew, they're rigging and they're putting lighting grids up and all these things. So it's a challenging proposition to move that many people, but I think the biggest difference is that our group at AEW is still small enough that we can be personal, we can have friendships. And again, I'm not saying you can't do that in WWE because I'm not there. How would I know now? Yeah. But I like where we are. We got it's kind of a family atmosphere. And the talents feel it, the talents see it. And we've got enough veterans there that if a young talent needs advice or wants to talk about something, we can help them. Yeah. There's a lot of us there. You know, Jericho's been around. Jericho had I think he celebrated his 29th anniversary Wednesday night in wrestling. Wow. He broke into the business. Dean Malenko's there. He's been around longer than that. I'm there, and I've been around longer than either of those guys. So there are people there. I need a couple, 3 guys. There's more than that, obviously, that they can get advice on, coach you up. So I like the intimacy, for lack of a better term, of our locker room, in the sense that there are not too many in number that somebody's going to get lost in the shuffle. There's no reason for that to happen. Sometimes all you got to do is raise your hand.
Is there a talent out there that's not with AEW yet that you specifically want to see come over to AEW?
Well, I want to see Jake Hager, who debuted on Wednesday night in a surprising scenario at the end of the show. It made a great impact. He got an amazing ovation because the fans were speaking out and saying, "We like new. Thank you for giving us new. Thank you for surprising us." But he was on my short list of guys I wanted to see there. You know, I'm selfish and I'm biased. He's an Oklahoma kid. He come from the my hometown, or my boyhood hero, Danny Hodges' hometown of Perry, Oklahoma. He was a 3-time All-American wrestler at OU, Oklahoma University. He played defensive tackle on the football team. So I've known him since he was a student, before wrestling, because he ran around with a kid named Dusty Dvorak, who's now a broadcaster for ESPN, and they had both at different times been kicked off the football team. So because my wife and I guess, for lack of a better term, had no issues taking in a stray here and there, I took it upon myself to mentor these kids, and you know, this is a bump in the road, man. The road's not over here. So anyway, I've known him for a long time. It's been a good journey. He's happily married. He's got 2 little boys. He's undefeated in MMA. You know, he's probably 1 fight away from fighting Fedor. So that's, and even though Fedor's at one time the scariest man in the world, I don't know if that's still the case. Maybe, I don't know. He's a star. And anybody that beats Fedor, I think it is actually, he has got another notch on their gun. It's a good deal. So he was one that I liked. I'm glad we got. I'm glad that we got John Moxley. He's a keeper for sure. I thought Sammy Guevara, who debuted on Wednesday, excuse me, Monday Night Wars, right? On Wednesday, impressed a lot of people, including myself. I said on the air he looked like one of the Diaz brothers on the MMA world, Nick Diaz and his brother. So long arms, longer than he appears to be, and very tenacious, aggressive. These kids are hungry. They know that they've got to do things that are extraordinary to start getting noticed, because they're starting at 0. They're known in their little indie circles of spheres of 200, 300 fans, here, there, and yon, but they're not known globally. They're not known from being in a big company, and now they are going to have that chance, and that's where the money lies. Yeah. So, hope they do well. You know, there's a lot. I like. There's a lot of kids out there I like. I'd like to work with Jeff Cobb someday when he's able to contractually. He's a great wrestler. He's thick, and we need some big guys. You know, the former Jack Swagger, Jake Hager, looked like Andre in the ring on Wednesday night, because he's 6'5", 6'6", something like that. And he was towering over people. So I think we need to continue to try to find us some more athletic heavyweights. We're getting used to him. Away from the game standpoint, he's very outspoken and he's very focused. After the Texas Tech game, before he got his football uniform completely off, I think he had his shoulder pads off, but he had his socks on and his pants. He went to work out. So he worked out after the game. And the reason he gave was he didn't play in the fourth quarter. He didn't play in the fourth quarter. So I guess he felt like he needed more work, right? So some of his actions are, I don't want to say head scratching. They're not head scratching. They're just unique for this day and time to want to do more work and never be content. I don't know if you learned that from Coach Saban or what, but nonetheless, it's all about doing your job. And he thinks that they can continue to do their job better, and I don't disagree with him. But you know, right now he's trending to be the Heisman Trophy winner. You know, and that's, I know the folks in Alabama may not agree with that because they got a great Heisman Trophy candidate in their own quarterback. Tua's a great player. But boy, this is a story that writes itself. And when you're getting votes from sportscasters and writers, don't think that didn't come to their mind's eye that, you know, this is a story. Oklahoma, 3 walk-ons, 3 non-recruited guys, and they all come in and start and win the Heisman? What's going on here? What's the common denominator? Well, here's the common denominator. Lincoln Riley is the common denominator. You know, he's the quarterback whisperer. He's really good. And that's why quarterbacks, we signed the #1 quarterback in America last year in high school, Spencer Rattler. Then the kid that's #1 this year is committed. I don't know what they're going to do with all the quarterbacks. All these #1, they're not talking about just a good quarterback, they're talking about the top-ranked quarterback in high school football. So for whatever that's worth, they haven't played a college game yet, I understand that. But they got pretty good pedigrees, and they want to come be a coach for this guy. So here's what it's going to cause. It's just going to make some rich owner of an NFL team more motivated to hire him. And I know you wouldn't say it today, but Jerry Jones could separate from Jason Garrett. The Dallas Cowboys, with an inflated package, might be the only football team that Lincoln would even mildly consider going to and leaving Oklahoma. Every time in an AEW locker room is refreshing because it's the old country term of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. There's a lot of bright-eyedness in our locker room. A lot of young kids that you can look on their face and they might not want to tell you because of their ego. And I understand, I'm the same way, but their eyes say, I can't believe I'm here. I think that's kind of cool. The sellouts have been pretty incredible. You know, the sellout we had at All Out, the sellout we had in Las Vegas, the sellout we had in Washington, D.C., and all those events sold out without over-the-air television. There was no TV coverage. It was just all streaming or online, their own YouTube, whatever. But people are telling us they want a different product. They are interested in watching something with a little different presentation. So therefore we should not try to replicate what anybody's doing. We should adapt our own style with our own body types, our own personalities, all those things. Build our team based on the assets of the participants, of the guys that are on the team. What do they do well? Do they block? Do they tackle? Can they throw? What do they do well? And the great bookers that I've worked for in my lifetime, and I learned from these guys, you put talents in position to win. You put them in a role that you believe in your heart that they can pull off. And so it's not such a major transition. That's being aware, it's having a little intuition, trusting your guts a little bit sometimes, you know. So our team is forming. And next week, when we are on the air on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Alabama time on TNT, you'll see a little different version. There'll be some different plays called. It won't be it won't be a formulaic type situation. And I love that because everybody's starting to find themselves. And the more reps they get, and the more that they can taste success. Hey, look, I can promise you, some of these young guys and gals will be recognized in short time, by the mass appeal audiences. And the fact that they haven't had that in their life is going to be a whole lot different. They're going to sign more autographs, take more selfies, all those things. And for some, that's the first step in realizing their ultimate goals. Because everybody wants to be rich and famous. Yeah. I mean, so they're going to see how that's going to feel. The famous part's going to come before the rich part, but they realize that we're in a company that's very aggressive. Tony Khan's a brilliant leader. You know, Cody has got a great feel for the game, looks like his dad. And I work for his dad in that same role. I know these things in that regard. So it's going to be fun to see how everybody evolves. You know, the fact that we have Tony Schiavone in our broadcast team, that's a great addition to our group. He's with his experience, you have to have broadcasters you trust. And I think they have that. I think AEW has that. I know that with the exception of the pay-per-view in November, it's going to be Tony and X-Cotter and myself. Tony's not available. He's got a Georgia football obligation. He produces Georgia football on the radio, so he's got that one conflict. But I think we'll do that with the video game dude, our talented kid too. What's his name? The Golden Boy. I got a Golden Boy as one partner and a masked man for the other. Hell, I don't know where I'm coming or going. I don't know if I'm scratching my watch or winding my ass. I don't have a clue.
Yeah, I didn't realize Tony worked with Georgia until I went to school at Auburn. I was at a basketball game at the Auburn Arena. It probably was like 2012 or so. I looked down at the sidelines. I was like, that looks like Tony Schiavone. I was like, that is him. So I went down afterwards and talked to him.
Yeah.
I didn't know what he'd been up to.
I'm as happy for Tony as I am with anybody in the entire organization. Yeah. And here's why. Tony grew up in Virginia as a lifelong wrestling fan. Him and his buddies would get their group together, put their money together to go buy gas and a wrestling ticket in Greensboro. He's been a fan all his life. He graduated from doing baseball in Charlotte, because that Crockett's also on the wrestling territory, to doing some interviews. It's just wrestling on camera stuff, right? Then he got burned out, and he got turned off by the business. He didn't like what the product he was seeing. He didn't like a lot of the politics. Nobody likes that stuff. But when it's so one-dimensional at one time, you kind of live with it or move on. Get along or move along, right? So he never the business fell out of love with Tony. I don't think Tony ever fell out of love with the business. So, but now they're back together. They've had a happy reuniting. He had a blast on Wednesday night, and he was so overwhelmed. It's the first time I ever saw him that nervous for a show, but he was so overwhelmed with the response that we got from social media about our work, and I think it touched him. It did me. You always like when people like your work, and then you'll get that one wrestling fan that we all dread being around, that overanalyzes every single thing. You know, you use the wrong adverb when you enter, oh, I can't even spell adverb. What are you talking about? So Tony's return was a great win for us too. I started, it was a team win all the way around. It really was. I know that's coach speak and it's not too inclusive, but I believe it was a team win, and it was a team win. And I think Tony had a big hand in it.
I was excited to see him Wednesday night.
People loved him coming back, and that's why we were introduced together. And I'll show you how grounded he is. There's very few announcers that would come out with another announcer and using the other announcer's music, ego-wise. And Tony could care less. So they said, we're going to play JR's music. Tony, okay, he don't care. We got a nice pop, and it worked out real well. So it was a memorable night. It was a memorable night, let's say that. And I was blessed to be a part of it. I love these events like this one. I love being around the fans. They're very eclectic. The people that come to these functions are very open-minded, free-spirited. They're here to have fun. You'll see a lot of smiles. At our table, we're going to have our books, or my Slobber Knocker book, where we sign those, personalizing them, sign your swag. We're taking pictures. We brought a nice selection of our condiments, barbecue sauces, chipotle ketchup, the mustard, beef jerky, seasoning. So it's a little shop on wheels. And but I enjoy the folks that come by. We can chat. That's what it is. It's like seeing old friends. And a lot of these folks have followed my career, some of them their entire life. So and being able to be booked in the Dothans of the world is a wonderful thing. So I think it's great. It's great price, family priced. You get tickets at the door. No, nothing fancy. Just come on down and have fun and enjoy the conversation and enjoy all the things you're going to say, all the sights. Should be quite the deal.